What if the success you've been chasing isn't waiting in some distant future, but hiding in what you do daily? The truth is, greatness doesn't come from luck or talent. It comes from the quiet power of daily discipline. From mastering your mind, keeping your promises, defeating fear, and falling in love with the process. It's not glamorous, it's gritty, but it's the one path that never fails. If you've ever felt stuck, scattered, or like your potential is slipping away, this message will wake something up inside you, because your future isn't missing, it's waiting for your discipline to catch up. Desire is a powerful force. It is the starting point of all achievement, but desire, no matter how intense, will never be enough on its own. It is like the spark that ignites a flame, but unless that flame is fed and directed, it flickers out. Many people have dreams, grand, ambitious dreams. They think about what they want, talk about what they want, even feel deeply about what they want. But they fail to understand the one principle that separates the dreamers from the doers, the wishers from the achievers. That principle is discipline. Discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. It is the force that takes your desire, no matter how big, and gives it a path to follow. Without it, your goals remain only fantasies. You may say you want success, wealth, health, happiness. You may write it down, hang it on the wall, repeat it to yourself every morning. But if your days are not structured, if your habits do not reflect your goals, you are standing still while convincing yourself you're moving. Every single person who has reached greatness, every individual who has carved out a meaningful life, understood this. Success doesn't come from bursts of motivation or flashes of inspiration. It comes from daily, intentional, often uncomfortable acts of discipline. You don't get wealthy by wishing for riches. You get wealthy by showing up every day, doing the hard things even when no one is watching. You don't get healthy by reading about diets. You get healthy by eating what fuels you, training your body, resisting temptation, and doing it all again tomorrow. Desire is necessary, yes, it is the fuel. But discipline is the engine. You must be willing to do what needs to be done even when your mood does not match your mission. You must rise before the sun if that's what your vision demands. You must say no to distractions, no to laziness, no to anything that weakens your momentum. Discipline will not always be easy, but it will always be worth it. Some people are waiting for the perfect moment. They say they'll begin when they feel ready, but discipline doesn't wait for readiness. It creates readiness. It trains the mind to act regardless of emotion, and over time, what once felt like a burden becomes second nature. What once required effort becomes effortless, and that's when success begins to accelerate. When your discipline is stronger than your excuses, there is no force that can stop you. You cannot wish your way to greatness, but you can work your way there one disciplined day at a time. Success is never built in a single day, it is built daily. It's not some magical moment that suddenly arrives. It's not a grand event that changes your life in an instant. Success is crafted in the quiet hours, the unnoticed repetitions, the small actions that seem insignificant at the time. What you do today, and then repeat tomorrow, and the day after that, that's what shapes your future. Your results are not the product of what you occasionally do. They're the direct outcome of what you consistently do. Daily habits create permanent results. Think about that. Every day, you are either reinforcing a habit that serves your goals or one that sabotages them. There is no in between. If you choose not to act, you're still choosing. You're just choosing to delay, to weaken your resolve, to invite failure by default. Success does not wait for convenience. It responds to consistency. If you rise every day and take one step, no matter how small, toward your definite purpose, you are moving forward. And if you fail to take that step, if you allow yourself to drift or stall, you begin to move backward. Life rewards movement, not intentions. Look closely at the lives of those who have achieved anything meaningful. You'll find that they didn't wait for motivation. They developed routines. They didn't rely on willpower. They built systems. It wasn't talent alone that carried them. It was the habit of showing up, doing the work, and not quitting when it got hard. Whether it was writing one page, making one sale, learning one new skill, or making one difficult choice, those repeated, disciplined efforts built the foundation of their success. You must decide what you want, and then build a daily habit around it. Want a better mind? Feed it daily with knowledge. Want financial freedom? Create a daily discipline of saving, investing, learning how money works. Want a stronger body? Commit to movement, clean fuel, and rest every single day. The habit is more powerful than the goal. Because once a habit is established, it carries you forward even when your energy fades, even when your emotions waver. Do not underestimate the compounding power of daily actions. A single drop of water seems small, but over time it can carve through stone. 1 hour of focused effort every day may not seem like much, but multiply that over a year and it becomes a force that changes your life. Most people fail not because they lack vision, but because they lack the daily discipline to carry it forward. Success doesn't shout, it whispers through your habits. And if you listen closely, you'll hear it every morning. You choose discipline over distraction, effort over comfort, consistency over chaos. A man who cannot control his mind cannot control his life. That is a truth few are willing to face. We are taught to focus on our actions, to work harder, push further, and chase after results. But very few stop to realize that every action, every decision, every step you take begins with a single thought. The mind is the command center of your destiny. If it is undisciplined, if it is scattered, reactive, or ruled by fear, then no amount of effort in the physical world will bring lasting success. But when you learn to discipline your mind, to focus it like a laser, you gain the power to direct your life with intention and certainty. You see, the mind left uncontrolled is influenced by everything around it. Doubt from others, negativity in the world, temporary setbacks that seem like permanent failures. It jumps from idea to idea, distracted by emotion, seduced by comfort. But a disciplined mind doesn't flinch. It stays centered. It holds to a clear vision. It responds rather than reacts. And this kind of mental mastery is not born from chance. It is built through daily practice. You must train your mind the way an athlete trains his body, deliberately, with effort and consistency. Start by choosing your thoughts as carefully as you choose your clothes. What you allow into your mind becomes what you live out in your life. If you entertain fear, you act with hesitation. If you dwell on failure, you move timidly. But if you feed your mind with purpose, with belief, with the image of success you are building, then your actions follow with power and precision. The mind, once set with purpose, begins to generate ideas, make connections, and pull you toward the people and opportunities that align with your goals. When you gain control of your thinking, you begin to shape your behavior. You choose action over avoidance, clarity over confusion, persistence over giving up. It becomes easier to say no to what distracts you and yes to what develops you. Discipline in thought creates discipline in action. And from that foundation, all forms of success are built, because what separates the extraordinary from the ordinary is not talent. It is consistency guided by clarity. That clarity can only come from a mind that is not overwhelmed by noise, but instead is trained to listen for truth. Do not leave your mind exposed to the chaos of the world. Guard it, guide it, and give it direction. Speak to it with conviction. Command it with certainty, and it will obey. And when it does, your actions will align, your days will gain purpose, and your results will begin to multiply in ways that feel almost effortless. Control your thoughts, and you will control your outcomes. Success is never the result of chaos. It does not grow in an environment of randomness or unpredictability. It demands structure, clear, intentional, unshakable structure, and this is where many people fall short. They have ambition, they have goals, they want more out of life, but they live by impulse. They wake up without a plan. They go through their days reacting instead of creating. They let their moods dictate their actions and wonder why they never seem to make real progress. Let me tell you the truth. Ambition without discipline is wasted energy. Discipline gives ambition a home, and that home is built with a schedule. You may not realize it, but every minute you spend without direction is a minute surrendered to mediocrity. Time doesn't wait. It keeps moving whether you use it or waste it. A man with a schedule commands time. He tells his hours where to go. He places his focus where it matters most. A schedule is not a restriction. It's a roadmap to freedom. It protects your most valuable asset, your attention. When you structure your day around your goals, you take back control. You become intentional, precise, and powerful in everything you do. Ask yourself, do your days reflect your dreams? If someone observed your routine, would they see evidence of your purpose? Or would they see distraction, disorganization, and delay? The man who builds a successful life is the one who builds successful days, and he does it one disciplined choice at a time. He plans his hours before they begin. He aligns his work with his mission. He eliminates the unnecessary and prioritizes what drives results. You cannot leave your success to chance. You must build it hour by hour, decision by decision. And this begins the moment you open your eyes in the morning. A structured morning leads to a focused afternoon. A focused afternoon leads to a productive evening. And a productive day, repeated again and again, leads to a life of meaning and achievement. There is no other way. There is no shortcut that replaces consistency, no hack that replaces discipline. Some believe freedom means doing what you want when you want. But real freedom, the kind that creates lasting success, comes from doing what must be done when it needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. A schedule disciplines your time, but in doing so, it liberates your potential. It keeps you on track when motivation fades. It builds momentum, and once that momentum is in motion, success becomes not just possible, but inevitable. If you truly want to rise, don't just dream bigger, plan better. Put your ambition on the calendar, give it a place to live, breathe, and grow, because until you do, success will remain just beyond your reach. Discipline is more than a habit. It is an act of self-respect. Every time you rise early when it would be easier to sleep, every time you choose action over excuse, every time you say no to something that pulls you away from your purpose, you are proving to yourself that your vision matters. You are telling the world, and more importantly, your own mind, that you are worthy of the life you seek. Success begins there, not in talent, not in luck, but in the quiet, powerful decision to honor your own commitments, even when no one else is watching. Most people think of discipline as sacrifice. They think of what they're giving up, the comfort, the ease, the temporary pleasure, but they fail to see what they're gaining, a stronger sense of self. Every disciplined choice reinforces your belief in your ability to lead yourself, and that belief compounds. With each decision, your confidence grows, not the kind of confidence that comes from praise or applause, but the kind that is built in solitude when no one is cheering, when it's just you, your goal, and the decision to show up anyway. You must understand this. Discipline is not punishment, it is permission to become who you were meant to be. When you hold yourself to a higher standard, you raise the ceiling on what's possible. You stop settling for mediocrity, you stop entertaining distractions, you stop making room for anything that weakens your vision, and people will notice. They will see the way you move, the way you carry yourself, the way you follow through when others quit, and they will respect it. But more importantly, you will respect it, and that self-respect becomes the foundation of everything else. A man who cannot keep a promise to himself cannot be trusted to keep a promise to anyone else. And success does not come to the man who breaks his own word. Your life expands in direct proportion to your ability to stay loyal to your own goals. That loyalty shows in your routine, in your habits, in your quiet refusal to let yourself off the hook. And the more consistently you practice it, the stronger you become, not just in discipline, but in identity. Because eventually, you stop trying to become disciplined. You simply are. You become the kind of person who does what needs to be done. You stop negotiating with weakness. You stop guessing your worth. You move with intention. You think with clarity, and you act with purpose. And from that place, life begins to open. Opportunities find you. People trust you. Progress accelerates, not because you were lucky, but because you were consistent, because you respected yourself enough to rise, to follow through, to hold the line when it would have been easier to break. When you live with discipline, you live with dignity, and success follows those who refuse to live any other way. The subconscious mind is always listening. It listens not just to what you say, but to what you do, especially to what you do every day. It doesn't respond to wishful thinking. It responds to repetition, and that is where daily discipline becomes more powerful than most people ever realize. Every time you repeat an action, every time you commit to the same purposeful behavior, you are sending a message to your subconscious that says, "This is who I am, this is what matters, this is my reality." And over time, your subconscious begins to believe it. You cannot fool the mind. You may tell yourself that you want success, that you are committed to your goals, but if your daily actions contradict your words, your subconscious registers the truth. It sees the inconsistency, and it cannot be trained by lies. But when your habits reflect your vision, when you show up with discipline day after day, even when it's hard, your mind begins to align with that rhythm. It becomes conditioned for focus, for resilience, for persistence. And when that shift happens, success begins to flow through you rather than just toward you. The man who practices discipline daily is not just developing skill. He is reprogramming his internal world. He is forming new patterns of belief, patterns that silently dictate behavior, motivation, and response to adversity. And these patterns, once embedded deep within the subconscious, become a force that carries him forward, even when obstacles appear, even when energy is low, even when fear whispers in the background. The subconscious becomes an ally, driving him to act in alignment with his purpose, not because he's thinking about it, but because it has become natural. This is why repetition is sacred. It is not boring. It is transformative. The disciplined man does not repeat action for the sake of habit alone. He repeats to train his mind, to send a signal, to cast vote after vote for the man he has decided to become. One small act may seem insignificant in the moment, writing one page, making one call, saying no to one temptation. But when repeated, it becomes powerful beyond measure, and the subconscious doesn't care how small the act is. It only cares that it's consistent. The undisciplined man lives at the mercy of his moods. He acts when he feels like it and retreats when discomfort arises. But the disciplined man understands that action creates feeling, not the other way around. And as he acts with intention, his subconscious begins to follow. It begins to expect greatness. It begins to generate solutions. It begins to shape his outer world to match the image impressed upon it by repeated, purposeful behavior. Do not wait for your mind to believe before you act. Act with discipline, and your mind will learn to believe. Fear and doubt are two of the most cunning enemies you will ever face. They do not shout. They whisper. They don't appear as obstacles on the road. They creep in through the cracks of your thinking. They tell you you're not ready, that you're not good enough, that failure is inevitable, and if you allow them to linger, they grow stronger. But there is a way to defeat them, not through avoidance, not through waiting for them to disappear, but through daily, consistent discipline, because every disciplined action is a direct attack on fear. Every time you do what needs to be done, especially when you're afraid, you weaken the grip of doubt. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the mastery of fear, and mastery does not come from emotion, it comes from behavior. You cannot think your way out of fear, but you can act your way through it. Discipline is what gives you the strength to act even when the fear is loud. It silences the internal resistance because it gives you a routine to follow, a path to walk, a structure that doesn't ask for permission from your feelings. The man who practices discipline builds momentum, and momentum is fear's greatest enemy. When you are idle, fear thrives, but when you are moving forward, when your days are full of intentional action, fear begins to lose its power. Doubt retreats in the presence of progress, and the more you show yourself what you are capable of, the less you listen to the lies of limitation. You must understand that fear feeds on uncertainty and doubt feeds on hesitation. But discipline creates clarity. It turns your vision into a plan, your goals into steps, your steps into habits. And once a habit takes root, fear has no room to grow. Because the mind, trained by discipline, no longer reacts to emotion. It responds to purpose. You do not stop when you feel resistance. You push forward because your schedule says so, because your mission demands it, because you've already decided that quitting is not an option. And with every disciplined day, your courage compounds. You begin to trust yourself, not because everything is guaranteed to work out, but because you know that you will show up regardless. You know that fear may visit, but it will never dictate your choices. And that trust, turned through action, is the foundation of real confidence. Not the shallow kind that wavers with results, but the deep, unshakable confidence that comes from honoring your commitments in the face of discomfort. Discipline is the weapon that quiets fear and dissolves doubt, not all at once, but piece by piece, day by day, decision by decision, and in the end, it is not fear that defines your life. It is what you choose to do in spite of it. Greatness rarely announces itself in moments of glory. It hides in the quiet, ordinary routines, the things that seem too small to matter, too simple to be significant. But this is the truth most overlook. It is not the extraordinary acts that build success, it is the mastery of the mundane. The way you show up when no one's watching, the way you handle repetition without boredom, pressure without complaint, progress without applause, that is where the foundation of greatness is laid. Most people are searching for some secret formula, some shortcut that will launch them forward without the grind, but there is no shortcut that bypasses discipline. There is no success that skips the process. Those who win do not win because they were given something others weren't. They win because they learn to love the work, not just the results, but the routine, the same task done over and over, refined with care, sharpened with focus. What looks like dull repetition to others becomes a sacred ritual to those who are committed, because they understand that every small action is a seed, and every seed, when planted consistently, becomes a harvest. The average man avoids the mundane. He craves excitement, variety, something new to chase, but the disciplined man understands that it's not about the novelty. It's about the mastery. It's about doing it better today than you did yesterday. It's about leaning into the process, trusting it, honoring it, knowing that success is hidden inside it. And once you truly embrace that mindset, you become unstoppable, not because things get easier, but because your relationship with the hard things changes. When you can give your full attention to the simple task in front of you, when you can work without needing to be seen, when you can wake up and execute your routine with faith in where it's taking you, you are building a kind of strength that the world cannot shake. That is the power of discipline. It transforms repetition into refinement. It turns the small, forgettable moments into bricks that build empires. Do not make the mistake of waiting for a big break. Do not wait for the world to validate your effort. Your validation is found in the doing, and if you stay faithful to the process long enough, the results will take care of themselves. One disciplined day may not make a difference, but 1,000 will. It's not about perfection, it's about consistency, not about doing more, it's about doing what matters most every single day, whether it's exciting or not. The man who can master the ordinary has already separated himself from the masses, because he understands that greatness was never hidden in the spotlight. It was always buried in the shadows of discipline,